Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our study of the Lord in the book of Proverbs. That's what we're looking at right now. We are seeing the book of Proverbs present to us the Lord, and what does that mean for us in a practical way? Right? Wisdom, living out this truth of who God is. We've seen so far that He's a God who looks at the heart, the intentions of the people, not just the actions. It's not just about trying to do good, it's about desiring and loving wisdom and therefore living accordingly. Now it's keeping this in mind of who God is and how we're supposed to live that we're going to come now to chapter 20. Here again, there's many verses in this one chapter that speaks to this notion of who is God and what does that mean for us. We'll smush in a bit of chapter 29, a few verses there, to complete the whole. I won't look at it chronologically from the earliest verse to the latest verse of chapter 20, but actually I'll look at more in a thematic way, focusing on verses that kind of go together and trying to lead us in a certain direction. It doesn't mean it's the best way to do it, it's just the way I've chosen to kind of make sense, give an order to what we're trying to understand from this God and how we're supposed to live in a wise way. We start with the truth we've already seen before. And it basically says, unequal weights and unequal measures are both alike an abomination to the Lord. Unequal weights are an abomination to the Lord, and false scales are not good. See the repetition, right? This unequal weight, this effort to cheat people by changing the weights, making seem things are lighter or heavier than they are to sell them at a different price. This God hates, right? An abomination. It's not good. It's, again, reminds us that God is a God of truth, honesty, and righteousness. Don't do things contrary to Him. But again, I say, it's not just about the actions you fulfill. He'll go on to say, the hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. I would say there's a two-pronged attack here, two layers of what He's showing us about God. First is, of course, His sovereignty, the God who creates all things, including the ear and the eye. Right? This is, at first glance, just Him saying, God made everything. I think there's more than that. Because He specifies, right? It's not just the ear, it's the hearing ear. Not just the eye, the seeing eye. And the Lord who sees and hears your deep thoughts and desires, who knows the intentions and inclinations. He doesn't just see the evil things you might have done, but that you wanted to do them. I think that's what He's hinting at. He's God's omniscience, God knowing the deep truth of our hearts. So God's sovereign, yes, but God also sees the deep things hiding behind our hearts. And it keeps going in that direction in the same proverb, in the same chapter of Proverbs. When it says, the spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts. Most commentators understand this idea of the spirit and the lamp being our conscience. Our intentions, how we think things through and what brings us to act a certain way. What makes us decide I'm going to do this and not that. I think this is okay and I'll do it anyways. God can take that as a lamp and search us out. He can really analyze the cryptic message going on in our conscience. Like somebody who's able to go on a computer and go into really the depth of that person's computer and know its secrets. God can do that. So again, it really seems to be focused on God knowing the intentions and desires of what you're going to do. Now this is important because He's not going to say do good. The rest of chapter 20 is actually going to tell us something different. He's going to first remind us that even though God knows all things, we don't. A man's steps are from the Lord. How then can man understand his way? So this brings us back again to God's sovereignty at first glance. On the surface, it's about the fact that God the one decides what the steps we're going to take. Not He forces us to, but you make your plans, James tells us, but then God decides what happens, like we saw in chapter 16. So at first glance, that's the main focus here. But again, there's more to this, I think. It's reminding us, even though God can search out our hearts and our intentions, We can't. You can see the repercussion of what this guy did and what happened, but you can't know his intentions behind it. Because God led his path. God permitted things to happen or not. Turn back to those first two Proverbs, the ones about the unequal yoke. And turn back even further, like we saw last time, where God decides if these unequal yokes will really work or not. He wants to scam you, but it doesn't work. So you walk away from that story thinking that guy's honest, but he wasn't. Just God permitted you didn't get cheated. So you can't know the intention of that person's heart. All you can know is what's before you. You can't know that truth. Only God can. This is important because he will add to this. Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you. We've seen this truth before, this idea of the vengeance of the Lord. Even Paul uses that old saying from the Old Testament of the vengeance of the Lord, that he should be the one that acts, according to Romans chapter 12. But this isn't exactly what it's saying here, right? It doesn't talk about vengeance, but him delivering us. So something bad happens to you. Your first response, I know he meant it, and I'm going to get him for it. The Proverbs says, give it back to God. He'll keep you from the evil. And if there's a need for vengeance, I think it's implied God will take care of that. But that's not the point here. Because again, you don't know the intentions. You don't even know their ways. You just see the repercussions. So don't be so quick to respond, to think you know why. Don't repay evil for evil. Let God take care of it. And still on that focus of God knows, God's in control, let God take care of it. He then adds, when we jump to chapter 29, the fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. See, the first part kind of brings us back to this whole, you can't know the intentions, what that person really wanted to do. But that fear of, I think that guy's going to scam me. I think that store is not good. It's going to bring all these anxiety and create that snare for you. This isn't about people trying to snare you. It's yourself. Your own fear and anxiety, trying to read people's minds and hearts and making yourself all worried. Instead, trust the Lord. You see the Lord that knows the intentions, sees the evil if it's coming. He'll keep you safe. He'll deliver you from evil once again. The same thing is being said the very next verse. Many seek the face of a ruler, but it is from the Lord that a man gets justice. Again, our response, repay evil. And if I can't do myself, I'll go get people who can. The government, the police, something. So that's our tendency, right? I must have justice. I must go to the highest authority to get it done. This prophet reminds you, go to God instead. Trust him. He knows what it should be done. Give it up in his hands. This is a good reminder of what Jesus himself told us. He said, turn the other cheek. If they want your coat, give me your shirt. If they want you to go a mile, go an extra one. All these injustices that usually makes us scream out, I want justice. Jesus said, no, you should say, here's more injustice for you. Trust the Lord, though. Give it back to him. Let him take care of it. It's a good reminder of trusting in God. And all of this will end on a really nice note. Still in chapter 29. A very simple and interesting proverb that says, the poor man and the oppressor meet together. The Lord gives light to the eyes of both. Take note, he doesn't say the poor and the rich man. He says the oppressor. You understand the idea, right? This guy's poor because this guy took advantage of him. He's the oppressor that took him and made him poor. And here's this reminder that God is the sovereign one who gives light to the eyes. He made it so the oppressor could succeed. Remember, he's the one that decides if these unequal weights will work or not. He's the one. You don't know the ways. God knows, and he decides what's going to happen. He decided this poor would become poor because of the oppressor. And his willingness and his desire and his permission, if you rather hear here. Either way, it's the notion that God's in control for both of them, which is why you have to trust God and leave it up in His hands. We really need to hear that, especially nowadays where there's stuff going on everywhere and people in Christian circles crying out that we should fight for it. Here's Proverbs, Old Testament, still is true, telling us, give it back to God. Don't repay evil. Recognize that if you're poor or suffering, that comes from God. Yeah, but they did. It comes from God. He permitted it. He let it happen. He could have stopped it. Let it go. Give it to God. Trust Him for it. Man, do we need to hear that, brothers and sisters, and I hope you are. On that note, be blessed.